Hello everyone, today we have new video review and this time we are going to check fresh release from Miniart. So I guess you should know about this kit because it was presented on Spielwarenmesse in the beginning of this year, and it was just a matter of time when we will see final commercial release of this kit. It's the new tool T-34 from Miniart in 1/35 scale, obviously, and the main feature in my opinion is that this is an interior kit, so we get all internals supplied together with this famous tank, and basically it might be or has all the chances to become a best kit on the market in 1/35 scale. So it will be interesting to see what is actually supplied here, because before we saw renders, we saw some of the photos of the actual test shots, but now we have a commercial sample, so it means you will get exactly the same stuff as what you will see in this video review, and we are going to open it and check what is hidden inside. So first of all, box size is typical for this brand. Here you can see comparison with my hand, and box art looks really great, and this is a typical feature, let's say, of Miniart kits. And box is quite heavy. Here you can see that on the side we have some information about the manufacturer and also some safety devices. It is also typical for Miniart kits. And here on the opposite side you can see 3D renders of this kit in the finished state, let's say. So as you can see, you can open the engine hatch, and also there are some internals displayed. Of course, driver's hatch can be opened as well, but we will learn all this stuff once we open this kit. So it's a top opening box, and here is what we have inside. It's a quite tight packaging in my opinion, because as you can see, there is no space from any of these sides. All frames are packed into the same plastic bag. And then on the bottom we have assembly manual, but we will check it later. We are going to start with this stuff, with plastic sprues. So forgive me for the plastic noises. I just need to open this plastic bag, and then we will check closer what is actually hidden here and how parts are separated on this kit. Frankly speaking, I was waiting for this kit because T-34 is an interesting subject, but I was eager to build an interior kit, let's say, not the simple one without any internals, and there are no, I would say, standard plastic offerings on the market. And when Miniart showed their version, it was really interesting to see it in person. So first of all, I would like to show you the, let's say, bonuses which were on the top, and then we will continue with plastic. So first of all, here you can see small envelope with Miniart logos. So here we have P fret. I will open it and we will check everything in a second. This is an unpainted P fret, which is quite typical product for Miniart, and it comes as a standard bonus. That's also quite cool feature, because all these parts will help you enhance appearance inside and outside. So don't be lazy, apply all these parts and you will only, let's say, win from such addition. Next we go on with clear plastic sprue. It is packed together with decals, so that's why I need scissors again. And I folded my scissors, so I need to open them once again. Just give me a sec. Decals, as usual, are printed in decograph, as far as you can see. So, what do we have here? First of all, decals sheet is here, so you can see that, as I said, it is printed in decograph, and here we have all necessary symbols for 3 marking options, as far as I remember. Printing quality looks nice. Some professionals might even try to replicate some of these symbols with their sharp brushes and white paint, but this should be more than enough for out-of-the-box build. So if you are afraid about any difficulties during application, let's say, don't be scared, because Miniart decals are usually nice and easy to handle in any situation, I would say. Okay, next we have pair of such clear plastic sprues. So here we have various periscopes as far as you can see, and molding quality looks fine. It's a traditional feature for Miniart. They are usually great with clear parts, so here we don't have an exclusion from this rule. And the only thing you will need is the mask set, because masks are not supplied. This is also typical for Miniart, so be ready for this, and especially if you want to get a decent final result with I would say more or less realistic appearance. Next, just give me a second, I need to remove this plastic sprue, and it's really difficult to do because there are plenty of pins protruding from this frame itself. That's why it catches for some parts, but here it is. So it's the first gray plastic sprue. Let's zoom out a bit. Now you should be able to see it. So what do we have here? First of all, we have a separate floor panel here. We have also separate engine deck covers, and here whole panel for the engine bay. Of course, the glacis plate and the rear armor panel are also separate. And also here we have mudguards for the front and rear. We can zoom in a bit, and now you should be able to see that here we have standard external detailing, I would say. So it means recessed panel lines and rivets are present here, and molding quality seems to be fine. All these attachment points should be easy to cut through, and all necessary hatches are molded separately, even here, so you can open them in any desired position, and it might be handy in some diorama scenes, projects, if you would like to use such feature. Next, another interesting thing, for example, here on glacis plate you can see that for driver's hatch or driver's place we have this special padding for the head, and the same goes for the floor panel. Here we have various wires pre-molded, and it looks nice. I mean, it will be barely visible on the finished model unless you will think of way how to expose it, maybe to do some cut out sections on the model, but still it is great to see it. I mean, if they decided to do the interior kit, they decided to go full scale and avoid any half measures on such kit. Next, why I'm a bit confused, I'm trying to understand what we have here except of the turret details or parts. So we have main gun, which is molded as a one-piece part. We also have mantlet cover and also some parts for the internals of the main gun, and it looks decent. I mean, especially considering that we have one-piece main barrel, but I know that some of you will replace it straight away with metal parts, and there is nothing wrong with it. I mean, metal is better in some cases, especially for professional modelers, but this is a decent solution for out-of-the-box build for these modelers who don't want to invest any extra money in their project. Here we have another plastic sprue with some internal parts, for example here for suspension. Here we have also some parts for the side panels. This is the engine bay wall, which will be separating the crew compartment from the engine compartment. And again, everything looks fine, even the thinnest parts. Here, by the way, you can see machine guns. And the only thing I can recommend, for example, with machine guns, if I zoom in, you can see that barrels are really thin, so you will have to be extra careful with these things, because otherwise you might end up with broken parts, and it won't be such a great time fixing them. Or maybe it will be another, I would say, reason to replace them with metal parts. Next, we go on with another interconnection between two sprues. So here we have them filled in or filled with various minor elements. So let's zoom in a bit. A lot of wires and pipes as far as you can see, and these are quite thin, so be ready for this. For example, here we have seat parts. As you can see, padding is pre-molded. It features this nice surface detail, so I would recommend to play with maybe some weathering on these parts. And still it is, I would say, traditional level of attention to small details. Here you can take a closer look. So, I mean, traditional for Miniart, of course. So if you assembled any of their interior kits, you will get exactly the same I would say, detailing out of the box. So no worries, we don't have any half measures here. And that's really cool because, as far as I remember, there are several interior kits available on the market today. And they can't rival this one, in my opinion, because here we get a lot of stuff which is not copied in other kits. Here we have another glazes plate. It is molded as a separate part. As far as I can guess, this one will be used on today's version because there will be several versions released. And again, we have the same internal detailing, we have the same external detailing, all hatches are separate and they can be opened on your model. Next, we go on with another plastic sprue, so just give me a second. And actually, inside this sprue, we have several small ones. So it was done, I guess, in order to protect all these minor parts. So here we have 6 absolutely identical plastic frames. As you can see, we have here these handles and also spare tracks, which are molded as separate parts. So be ready to apply all this stuff. Maybe some modelers will replace handles with metal wire, it will be up to them. But even what we have out of the box is really nice. And it's just a matter of careful installation and you have a nice result. Next we go on with another large sprue because it houses another sections for the main hull. Let's zoom out a bit. So it's a top cover. As you can see, it is molded as this, I would say, quite unusual piece. Here we have also the turret ring side panels for the lower hull section, and if you flip over this stuff, inside here you can notice these small holes, and some of them will have to be drilled in order to house external elements such as pioneer tools or maybe handles. And here we have also special tabs for suspension parts which will be installed inside. And of course there are some parts pre-molded in the engine bay, for example some wiring, so it will be even more detailed out of the box. Okay, next. What do we have next? There are many parts which are molded separately. Why? I'm not sure, but for example here I can show you 2 identical plastic frames. So these ones carry minor elements for fine detailing of the main hull. For example, here you can see exhaust covers, and I can flip one so that you can see what we have. On the opposite side there are obviously some guiding pins which will help you with the right alignment of these elements. We also have some towing cable parts, also towing hooks. So everything looks fine. I like that the attachment points are thin enough in order to carefully separate them without damaging them. And next we have again 2 identical plastic frames. Here we have engine radiator and also brakes, as far as you can see. So here they are. And as you can see, each radiator should be assembled out of 2 parts. And I would recommend to play with weathering on this, because otherwise you will end up with plain looking parts. I saw several builds where modelers did not do any weathering on these parts, and it wasn't such an impressive build, even though plastic parts are great. So it's just a matter of bringing out various details. Here we continue with some parts for internal and external detailing. I guess these ones will be used for the engine, and we didn't see engine parts yet, so it's really interesting. Next we continue with some external parts. These ones will be used for the engine bay cover. Here we have spare tracks. As you can see from the opposite side, these are wafer type. Next we have road wheels, and these ones come on separate sprues, and there are plenty of them obviously. And road wheels are molded as a one-piece part, so just give me a second to take them all out. So we have here 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can notice some flash on the parts inside here. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 sprues in total, and it means 20 wheels in total. And these parts look decent, but I'm a bit surprised why we have a bit of flash in the middle. Maybe it's a molding process, maybe it's a molding forms. It's easy to clean, but it's surprising to see such thing in the modern release, I would say. So maybe in the future releases it will be fixed, because this one maybe was rushed out on the market. It's not critical, once again I will repeat it, but you saw it with your own eyes. Okay, here we have turret parts. Again, a turret part is divided in a typical, I would say, style. So we have one piece top cover, separate hatches, separate mantlet cover, separate armor panels, and maybe this will be not the armor panels, but this will be the internal inserts for the internal detailing in the turret, because it's interior kit, as you remember. And next we have another plastic sprue with some parts for the engine bay. So here starts the interesting stuff, because as you can see we have a lot of exhaust parts, pipers, and also compressors, various tabs which will be holding the engine, fuel tanks, etc, etc. And everything looks fine. So I really insist on doing some weathering here, because your model will benefit from this. And as you saw, you can open the rear panel, so you will be able to show what you did with your engine on your model. Next, here we have last gray plastic sprues from the big batch. So here you can see, for example, some fuel tanks and more of the interior walls. And I would say it's somewhat similar to what we saw in SU 122, as far as I remember. And I assembled this kit before, so you can find build review on the YouTube channel, so just Google it. Here we have engine parts, and it should be a really straightforward process. Just pay attention what you are doing with these parts, and you end up with really nice copy of the T-34 engine. And I mean, small fact which shows importance of this engine is that it is really popular as a separate kit as well. So that's why Miniart actually sells it as a separate kit. Now I'm opening another plastic bag. So just like in the other Miniart kits in 1/35 scale, we have tracks and various minor elements packed into the separate plastic bag. So just give me a second. I'll show one of each, so that we don't have to go through the whole package. Okay, so we are going to start with this white sprue, which is used for the ammo storage parts, and as you can see we have them pre-molded. So also this, I would say, ammo discs for machine guns, they're also pre-molded. The same goes for this main gun ammo, so you won't be able to change the amount placed in the holders, but still, I mean, it is fine. But some modelers like to play with such small features as well. Next we go on with another plastic sprue here. So this one will be used for fuel tanks, and there are several of this type parts. So I mean, it is obvious because there were several fuel tanks on this tank. I can zoom in so that you can see it, and if you flip it over, here inside you can see some guiding elements which will help you with proper alignment of these parts together. Next we have a lot of plastic sprues with track parts, because we have here separate track links, and I can zoom in even closer. Well, that's the maximum what I can do, but I will bring it like this. Maybe camera will focus. Yeah, now you should see that we have really nice external detailing on these track link parts. So it's not just a plain plastic track links. We have some pre-molded details, and it will look really great on the finished model. And I would say it is more than enough for out-of-the-box build, or maybe for some detailed build, and definitely you won't have to spend extra money for some aftermarket upgrade made out of metal. And next we have another plastic sprue. This one is quite simple. So here we have minor elements for external detailing, and they look as fine as previous parts. Now we can move on to assembly manual. So this one is printed in form of typical Miniart brochure. So let's zoom out a bit. It's a color printed brochure, as you can see. So what do we have here? Just give me a second, I'll tune camera a bit so that you won't be blind once I'll adjust the white color. Okay, so here we have short list of the features. We'll jump straight forward to the first page. Here you can see marking guide for the first marking option. It is a tank from summer 1944. Next is a parts map, and as usual Miniart does not show which parts are not used, so be careful and pay attention to what parts should be used, because there is a possibility to use the wrong elements on your model, let's say, which are useful for the different version. So assembly process starts with a floor panel. Here we continue with installation of various interior elements inside. These are some control elements for the driver's seat or driver place. And as you can see, there are, I would say, a lot of stuff to be installed inside. So in some cases you'll have to think how to paint these parts, because otherwise it will be a bit tricky once they're in place. So some parts should be painted before installation and then installed on the model, or maybe in opposite case you'll have to paint them once they are installed on the model. So here you have to have some strategy on how to assemble this kit and how to paint it. Here we continue with engine deck. So as you can see, we continue with assembling whole engine block, radiators, and then installing all this stuff into the engine bay. Next we continue with closing it with various transmission parts. And next, here you start working on the glacis plate. Of course it will be detailed inside and outside as well. Next, here you install it together with top section, and then it gets installed on the lower section. This is quite interesting sequence. So maybe I would recommend to try test fit this part without glacis plate and then add glacis plate separately. I mean, it might be possible that such sequence will be better. Here we continue with suspension parts. These are separate suspension arms which should be inserted into these slots. And as far as you can see, this won't be a movable suspension, so it will be fixed. Next, there you can see mud guards, installation Pioneer tools, some spare tracks, and separate hatch for driver's seat. So as you can see, there is open and closed option. Now fuel tanks will be fixed in place with help of P, so be careful with bending these parts together. Next we have towing cables, where you have to secure your own length of the cable between these two loops. Each track link will contain 72 tracks together. So here you can see assembly process. There is no assembly jig included, so you have to do everything with your own hands or maybe your own tools. Here you can see assembly process for the turret. And next we continue with main gun. So as I said, it will be detailed inside as well because it's interior kit obviously. Here you can see assembly of the gunner seat or commander seat. Correct me if I'm wrong. But as you can see, PE parts will be used for fine detailing. Next we continue with installation of the main gun barrel, and then whole turret gets on the main hull. And here we have two more marking options. So one is from summer 1944, another one is from autumn 1944. And here in the end again we have some 3D images of the finished vehicle and of course colors chart in several manufacturer designations. So as I said, this kit should be already available on all good model shops. Modelism X, for example, has it for sure, and you can order it straight away. And in my opinion, we have here a really nice copy in 1/35 scale of the famous Soviet tank, and it's interior kit, so it might be handy feature for some diorama ideas, but no worries if you are not fan of such format, there will be some interior less versions, so just wait for it. And of course I will be happy to hear your opinion about this kit. Write it here in the comment section below. If you like this video, don't forget to press the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And I will see you in the next video review as usual. Thank you for joining me today, and bye!